What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Comment Riders. I am your host, Josh Meek, the Uber Geek. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Toby Tobes. How's it going, Toby?
I am the co-host, Toby Tobes. How's it going, Josh?
It is good. We are here. We're going to talk about Kamen Rider Gotchard episode 32 and 33 today. I got a double header. You may have noticed we took a little week off, so now we're going to catch up on all of our Gotchard happenings.
I'm back from assignment, and now
You are.
we're ready to go guns blazing.
Did you know that you were a mere 2 hours from me when you were on assignment?
Was I?
Yeah. Yeah. I might be blowing up your spot a little bit. If I am, you can tell me to edit it out. You were in Cincinnati, which is like,
I was.
yeah, about 2 hours from Indy, where I'm at.
Do you? So that can be the topical lead-in for this week's conversation. Josh, do you eat Skyline chili?
No, Skyline Chili is bullshit.
Okay,
People
thank
from
you.
Ohio are dumb as fuck. No, listen, I like a lot of things about Ohio. I think the Reds are a good baseball team. Um, I like that it's close to Indiana. That's a nice thing about it. It's got some nice cities. I think Cincinnati is a fun city to visit. It's got some cool parts, cool places to hang out. But their opinions on chili are completely insane. It's just a pile of like spaghetti that you just put sauce on. It's not chili. That's not how chili works, you idiots.
Yeah, it's like that.
Ugh.
It's like so Skyline chili. Well, so I guess like normal hot dog chili is like meat and beans and like thick sauce. And then
Yeah,
Skyline chili is this weird, crazy Midwest, Ohio, Cincinnati thing, where it's based just like tomato sauce, right? Effectively.
yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like thin, it's runny, and like spaghetti is the pasta in it or whatever. It's just not. It's not spaghetti. Or sorry, it's not chili. It's just like a weird offshoot of spaghetti, in my opinion. People love their stupid Skyline chili, and people like go crazy about like, oh my gosh, I get to get Skyline chili now. It's like, no, you're all insane.
So it's funny because so I went with the group was like 75% people from Pennsylvania,
Hmm.
and their 25% was from Cincinnati or like that general area. So basically, all of the Pennsylvania people walked whenever we were at like a restaurant or a meal, baseball game, whatever. We would ask people, "What do you actually think about Skyline Chili?" Like asked waiters, waitresses, etc.
Yeah.
And almost everyone that lived there was like, "Well, it's kind of like a thing around here, but like you don't really have to go eat it. Like they're not really missing out. Don't worry about it." And I thought that was hilarious because I always heard, much like you said, people were like ride or die for that shit.
Yeah.
And no one that I met that lived there seemed to be all too enthused with
See,
the
here
skylining.
here's my conspiracy theory. I think the people who live there, I think they secretly love that shit. But I think that they know now that it's not good. So then they tell out of towners, being like, yeah, you don't have to. It's fine. You don't have to
They're
get
getting
it.
memed on. They don't want to get memed on.
Exactly. They don't want to get memed on. But really, when you leave and it's just them and they're just in their little Ohio areas all by their Ohio selves, there's like, I'm going to get some Skyline chili. It's going to be delicious. I'm not going to tell anybody who's not from the state. That's what's going on.
That's
No,
also
it
that's
is
also
very.
fair though.
Yeah, I guess that is fair. Yeah, that's true. When I'm not around people, when I'm around people not from Indiana, I don't talk about my love of the giant, big as your head tenderloin, like I would if I was around another Hoosier. I know when I'm with my people, and I know when it's safe to tell people that I need a breaded tenderloin sandwich that's as large as my head. But you're looking at me like I'm crazy, I'm sure right now. So I get it.
It sounds good. But I'm trying to build a visual of what the sandwich looks like, and I'll probably never know.
I would say that the breaded tenderloin is definitely the Indiana version of the Skyline chili, where it is a thing that Indiana people are like ride or die for, and everyone else is like, why would it be that big? It doesn't make any sense. um, but
Google wanted to fill in Indiana for me after those first two words. And yeah, like it looks like the tenderloin is as big as the plate, and the
yes,
burger bun is just the size of a burger bun.
absolutely, that is the standard here. So yes, I'm familiar with my weird regional foods, but Skyline Chili continues to be the one that is the most confusing to me. I will definitely say.
Reading the ingredients for your pork breaded tenderloin sandwich thing. I just find it hilarious that it's like the ingredients, the first thing it says like about 2 pounds worth of pork tenderloin.
Yeah.
And it like visually like think of 2 pounds of anything on a plate and you can just imagine how big this thing is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is definitely it's like a fair food thing you get. So, like, if you're going to, like, the Indiana State Fair, like, one of the things that that is often very popular is a large breaded tenderloin. Um, there's restaurants and stuff that serve them too, but, like, yeah, that's, definitely an Indiana thing. I also, growing up in Indiana, being next to Ohio, like, Ohio was the state that we mocked, right? Like, in Ohio and Kentucky, like, both were true. But, uh, definitely, like, anything that's different about those states than your own. Every state, I'm sure, has this with their neighboring states, but, like, anything that's different, it's just like, well, they're idiots for that.
Yeah.
That's what morons. Uh,
You gotta keep those like north south rivalries living forever,
you
not
do.
just state by state basis.
Yeah. And I grew up closer to Kentucky. So I grew up, like, south of where I'm at now. And I spent a lot of time in Kentucky because my family had a house there. Um, so, like, the Kentucky stuff, like, I knew what Kentucky people were like for better or worse. They were a lot of times idiots, but at least they were the known idiots. But I didn't spend as much time in Ohio, so it was much more like it's over there is really crazy because those people I don't know anything about them, but clearly they're nuts.
They eat spaghetti sauce on
Exactly. Did you get to see the Reds play the Phillies? That was this past week, right?
I did, and it was the night that the Phillies won 7-0.
Oh, dang. Okay.
So
That's a good one
it,
for you
it
guys to see.
it's a weird vibe because I don't really care one way or the other.
Yeah.
But like it always feels weird going to for any sport, I feel like. It feels weird going to like the opposing city, state teams, whatever place in like your
Yeah.
own regalia
Were you
and
decked
being
out in Phillies gear and stuff?
oh no, because I don't even care. Like I
Okay.
wore a band raglan tee, like the ones that looks like a baseball jersey thing.
Nice. Okay,
I
good.
wore one of those that were at least Phillies colors, but they were also Reds
Reds
colors.
colors too, yeah.
So I just sat there and enjoyed the baseball game.
Nice. I've been, really into baseball this season for some reason. Like, I've been watching games and getting into it.
I want
Got
everyone to
some
be proud of Josh because when I first met Josh, he said, "What are sports?" And now
well,
Josh is talking about basketball and baseball and fantasy football this year and all the things.
I don't wanna, blow up my spot too much, Toby, but my water sports, opinions and thoughts and things on podcasts were slightly exaggerated because
Uh huh.
I kind of have always liked baseball to some extent. Like, that's been, like, my one. Like, I played baseball growing up, like, through Little League and all that stuff. And off and on, I have watched baseball in my life, but this season, I'm definitely watching way more than normal. I've enjoyed that. It's just a nice thing, to, put on and have a nice relaxing evening.
It's like definitely the brainless TV, where pretty
A
much
little bit,
for
yeah.
whatever sport you watch, you
Yeah.
don't have to watch that much. You just wait until people start screaming, and
Yeah.
then you're just like, "Oh, I should look up real quick," and then you look up real quick.
I did maybe I can't really have casual hobbies, Toby. You probably know this about me. Anything that I get into, like, way too deeply, like, starting a Common Writer podcast, for example. Um, so one of the taking baseball too far things this season has been I have, learned how to score baseball, like, by hand. Like, I've learned all the, like, the
the
things you
the
write
checks
down
and
when
filling the
different things.
line and
Yeah.
a 2-4-5 play and
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So that would be a double play from let's see, from the catcher to the second baseman to third base, which is a weird double play.
I just threw out numbers.
Okay. So yeah, that's been the fun thing that I've gotten very nerdy about over the past few weeks is scoring baseball. Um, which is very different than my normal nerdy things, which is fun.
I feel like specifically scoring baseball is a really weird thing that a lot of people get into.
Yeah,
Like
I can
like
see that.
that's the weird statistical thing that like there's definitely like a group of people who are like, yeah, I'm gonna do the scorecard myself. And you fill in the little bases as they go around and everything. And
Yeah, there's something very uh cathartic and art like about looking back at, like, the scorecard with, yeah, like you said, with the little diamonds filled in and all the little marks in all the right places. And there's something just very comforting about that. And it feels the same way I feel when I like get a new notebook and I start taking like handwritten notes, like that same nice feeling of like, it feels nice to like put pen to paper and like the tiniest little bit of creating something that gives you that little like endorphin thing, which is nice. But yeah, I could see people getting into like the stats in baseball are definitely a thing that pulls people in a lot for sure.
Josh, what's a whip?
A whip,
Yeah,
a I don't know what is a whip.
it's walks and hits over innings pitched or something like that. You should. It's
Oh
freaking
yeah,
baseball stats. Come on now.
okay. I'm not listen. I'm just getting into the scoring part. I'm not into the super deep stats yet. Come on, come on.
Ah,
I'm into like, did he get a hit that got him on first base or second base or third
that's
base,
called
or did he
that's
make
called a
it
single.
all the way home? Did he get to base on balls? That's a BB. You write that in. uh, those are the things that I know. Uh, listen, everyone should be impressed that I knew the numbers of the positions for the random numbers you shouted out earlier. That was
That is true.
impressive.
That
Yeah.
that was impressive. But yeah, the whip is a pitcher stat. So it's
Okay.
basically the lower your whip is, it means that you're not giving up walks and hits divided by the amount of innings you
Oh,
pitched.
I have a baseball card sitting here in front of me that happens to be a pitcher. I just picked it up, and yes, whip is is listed on the back of the card. Indeed. Yeah, this is Logan Webb for the Giants. Apparently,
Yeah.
his whip for the last season was uh 3.25.
That's pretty low. That's good.
Nice. He was much better in 2022 though, so he's slacking.
That's disappointing. He made that, like, he got that bag, and now he's
He did. Good for him though. Toby, speaking of getting that bag, let's you and I get that bag and talk about
let's,
some Common Rider, shall we?
let's do it.
First, let's jump into our emails. We have an email this week. You can send emails to cast@commonwritersucks.com. Once again, that is cast@commonwritersucks.com. And this week, our friend Shade has sent us in an email. Shade says, well, ladies and gentlemen, it's finally happened. The mystery returning character that has been on every marketing material for the past 4 episodes is Kamen Rider Legend. Yes, we get the big reveal of Kamen Rider Legend at the end of episode 33 here today, of the two that we're talking about. But it has really been no secret that Kamen Rider Legend was making his main series debut because, yes, if you've been on the internet and have looked at anything Kamen Rider related for like the past month, it has been all Kamen Rider Legend based. Um, which actually, the producer blog, I think for 32, went into this a little bit, where they were kind of saying like, "Hey, we introduced Kamen Rider Legend in a spinoff series, but we know not everyone watches the spinoff series, and we want people to know who he is when he shows up in the main series." So they like made a very concerted effort for like a month to like put him in all the marketing material and announce action figure of him and all this crazy stuff, so that when he shows up, you might have some idea of who he is. Um,
Yeah, so when we get to the point where he shows up, we have some idea who he is. We're gonna have some conversations, then, just so you know.
okay, good, good, good. Shade links the producer's blog and says, despite only being a spin-off character, Legend is slowly but surely climbing the ranks of popularity. I heard this rumor long ago, could not be true, so take it with a grain of salt. That Legends toys sold really well, so they decided to integrate him into Gotchard a bit more. Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not. It seems like they kind of had that planned from the beginning. If you or from early on, if you read through especially the 33 blog, they might be saying that after the fact now, but it seems like they at least have been planning that for a little bit.
I want to know why he's popular.
Cause he's gold. He's like Kamen Rider Decade, but like he's new. He's gold. I don't know. The
Like,
toy looks cool.
if you ever played games as a kid, and someone's like, we all have special powers, and we're gonna fight," and one person's like, "I can fly," one person's like, "I can turn the bricks," and one idiot kid goes, "I have all the powers. Fuck you guys."
That is what
That
he is. Yeah,
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 it's the
100%.
worst character because he's all the
Yeah,
characters.
I think people tend to like the like weird spin-off characters because they always get the like expensive belt and stuff too. And I don't know. I think there's a subset of fans that like to be the non-main writer weirdos that just get the weird belts. I think
I guess
that's why
that's
we're saying,
fair, but
yeah. Shade says, normally I'm not a huge fan of having crossover episodes in non-anniversary series. This is more of a Power Rangers thing. Kamen Rider and Sentai only recently started doing it. But I do think the legend stuff in this episode fit pretty well into Gotchard. Shade says, next I want to talk about Clotho's actress Kamen Miyahara. On the blog mentioned her already, but I don't think it properly captured how much of a badass she really is. So the blog talks about, Toby, that episode 32, which kind of features Clotho pretty heavily, where she fights alongside Hodoro for a while. Um, the actress and the director of that episode are actually friends that have known each other for a long time.
I thought you were
So
gonna say dating. That's why she got to do the cool stuff.
they're not dating, I don't think. I think they just know each other. But because he was directing, they featured her character in that episode. They kind of paired those two up. But she, as you noticed in that episode, she gets a new form. She gets a whole new outfit and stuff. And they didn't put her in a suit. Like her face is visible. So when she's doing all her fighting, it's actually her. And that's because she's like insane. She is apparently a first Dan holder in both karate and judo, Shade tells us. Dan is a Japanese martial arts rank, with first being the highest. And last year, Toby, she made her kickboxing debut and won the fight with a TKO in 39 seconds. So
I did think her. We'll talk about when it comes back up. But I
her,
did think her outfit was cool, and I was impressed that she got to not be maskless basically, so you get to see her
yeah,
do all the crazy stuff.
it felt very uncommon writer because of it. It was very cool. It was very jarring and very cool. It very striking, I guess I should say. Very cool.
Since you
Shade says,
mentioned about the toys, by the way, the
uh-huh.
Legend Driver and Riser and some Kemi cards comes out to about $200 pre-ordered.
That's
So
not
getting
too
those
bad.
toys, they're getting those toys going fast.
Shade says, all in all, I'm very excited for next episode's gorgeous time, which is 33. But there better be some Kajiki and Butler duo action. Otherwise, I'm dropping this show. LOL. And you got that. That worked out. So Shade gets to continue watching Kamen Rider once again. So that's our emails for this week. That is, again, cast at commonwritersucks.com. Cast at commonwritersucks.com. And Toby, in addition to sending emails, people can also check out our Patreon. Quick little plug for the Patreon here before we go on. Patreon.com/ the comment writers. We do a bunch of bonus content that doesn't show up here in the podcast feed or on YouTube. And we do some really fun stuff. We watch past Common Writer series. We're working our way through X-Aid right now, nearly finished with it. And we're also watching Boon Boomjer. So if you want to hear our thoughts on Sentai, we do that. You get to watch the shows along with us, hear our thoughts as we watch them live. It's kind of like Mystery Science Theater, but for tokusatsu. Super, super fun. We put out stuff every single week, and it's $3 a month. If you sign up now, you get to watch a ton of stuff. All of our Black Sun watch and react, all of our X8 up until now, all of our Boon Boomjer, a bunch of movies we've done. There's a ton and ton of content out there. So go check that out. $3, patreon.com/ the comment writers. And you also get access to our Discord, which is full of just insane characters that are fun to spend time with. So go check that out. And without further ado, Toby, let's jump into talking about these two episodes of Gotchard.
I just want
So
everyone to know real quick that you're actually like losing money by not joining the Patreon.
you are.
So
Yeah.
just really think about that for a second. And now we're going to talk about Gotchard.
You're losing money because I come and rob everyone who doesn't join the Patreon. Like I take notes.
Yeah, your
I was like, oh,
names,
you
your
downloaded
download
the.
names.
Yep, exactly.
This one IP here, 8.8.8.8. I'm coming for him.
Wow, just doxing somebody out there like that. Just shows up at Google's headquarters, knocking on the door. Episode 32 here, Toby, is called The Great King Appears, The Doll's Dilemma. Um, like we said, this is the kind of focus on Clotho episode. So it opens and she's kind of like, she's mad that she's not stronger. And she's mad that the last time she used her Dread level 3, she couldn't handle it because, it's too tough for her. So Atropos calls her useless, says she's as useless as her brothers. And Clotho says that she's gonna do it. She's gonna gain a new power. And she kind of storms off.
I like that the little one tells her specifically like with your specs you can't manage type 3 because it just seems funny to me to like talk to a human
And
about
say
being like
specs.
yeah, being spec'd out, like not like short for spectacles, glasses, whatever, but like stat RPG specs of
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, your strength is only 6. You'll never be able to use this cool sword.
I feel like it's a very anime thing. There's a lot of anime right now that it cares like it's like the isekai like I got transported into a video game type thing, which is like, oh, I'm watching my strength stat go up. I also love that Atropos knew exactly what to say to motivate her too. Like, yeah, you suck. You're never gonna do it.
Atropos is secretly the queen of saying all the right angry things to make people do other better things.
So true. So true. Toby, then this episode starts taking a turn because we start to get some new characters introduced. We pop over into the world of Kamen Rider Legend. If you are familiar with the special, you maybe recognize the little area. We get to see Butler, not Kajiki. He's kind of doing some science. It looks like working on the Legend Riser when some bad guys show up, and these bad guys steal the riser, and then hop back through a portal.
When we watch, so we're gonna go back a step because,
Okay.
as you know, my brain is not always the best. Was Kajiki the same actor for Butler
Yes.
when we watched that one little side thing?
Yeah, that's why it was kind of so funny because it was just like the Kijiki we knew, except he's playing a completely different role, like completely different mannerisms and stuff. Yeah,
Did so when we watched the crossover thing, had we met Kajiki at that point?
yeah. We had met Kijiki. Yeah,
Okay.
so we had met Kijiki, and then we see Butler. So you should have known at that point that it was Kajiki's actor, but a different character. Yeah.
Okay. Because it once again didn't click. I couldn't remember when we watched the one episode of the spin-off thing, if it was the same actor or not, like on purpose, and then all those wacky side things they do. But that makes sense. We're good.
Yeah, and clearly from this, like on purpose, as we see next episode, like they definitely play it up that he's an alternate reality version of Kijiki, basically. They say it's I think at some point it is a 97% face match between the two of them. Tell me we cut over, we get a quick little like random Malgam battle, which I thought was funny. Like we're to the point in the series where like Malgam battles just are just like random cutaway scenes.
Yeah,
um,
like it's definitely that weird thing of I think there's only been like 1 or 2 episodes before this where like if they start with the end of the fight, you know it's going to be like a wacky episode or shenanigans are going to happen.
yeah.
But it still just feels weird because in general in the over these next 2 episodes, like this one we're in like 32 specifically, then mixed with 33, I really feel like the show kind of lost its way with what they were trying to do in the beginning. So just
With
having
these
like,
episodes, like specifically.
or I mean, just in general, yeah. I mean, like ever since the last break when we're like, I wonder how they're gonna continue the
Okay.
show since they just finished the final boss kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like the show seems, at least to me, like it's so kind of lost in the sauce of like what they want to do. At this point, like the show intro is, hey, we got a Chemi card, and that's like the first 30 seconds, and then just random bullshit the rest of the time.
Yeah.
When the old episodes were, hey, here's 20 minutes leading into maybe I got a Chemi, or maybe I'll get a Chemi next week, or however it used to work out.
Can we think back to the and this is actually kind of like later in the series even, but like do you remember the X-Rex episode where we spend like two episodes. We spend like two whole episodes like agonizing over the backstory of X-Rex and like the people who are interacting with X-Rex and oh he didn't do it on purpose and all this stuff. And now we're just like random cutaway scene like, hey cool, I got a new tentacle amalgam. This is neat. And then that's it.
Well, yeah, especially because like I guess if you got them from different ways, it wouldn't seem as weird. But they literally made a special costume for the Amalgam that got 30 seconds of screen time.
Yep,
Like
they
they made a
did.
whole tentacly man. They're just like, hey, like we're gonna cut into this fight, and by the way, the drop kick's already happening, so we're done.
Yeah, the show doesn't give a fuck anymore about the chemis. Like they they're telling their own story. They're doing their own thing now. Which, to be fair, yeah, these two episodes felt like they were flying off the handle, I guess I'll say, for better or worse. Like there was a lot happening. We do not have time for this Kemi bullshit right now. We have like people coming from other worlds. We've got like we've got Hodoro teleporting into into like Breaking Bad Mexico for some reason because the yellow color. Like it's just crazy stuff
Yeah,
going
because
on.
one of my last thoughts of the next episode was basically what I just told you of like I feel like the show doesn't know what the fuck it's doing anymore, and like these two in general, and I guess it's because there's kind of also doing like the weird forced cross. I guess not forced, but like they're doing the crossover at the same time, and like
Yeah.
they name drop like 7 new villains and like 2 villain groups and all these crazy things. It's like again, it's like a brand new show, and there's 1,000 things going on at the same time.
Yeah. It and this is mostly episode 33, but like they introduced the 100, right? They introduced like the bosses and then they hench into former common writers from previous series and not like even main writers. Like they're like common writer Glazer and stuff like from Geats. Like it's like secondary, third, tertiary bad guy writers or whatever. It's overwhelming in the same way that like watching all of Kamen Rider Decade was without having watched the series that it goes back and references because it's like I don't know, is this a new character or is this a character from the original show or is this something like a weird mix between the two? I have no idea. This is all just like crazy lights and colors in front of my face.
Yeah,
Um,
especially like I was a little better with some of it from the past year plus or so of like watching assorted seasons or making
yeah,
jokes or like people pointing out different writers to me or whatever. But like overwhelmingly so. If Gotchard was your first common writer, there was like 20 common writers in the 2 episodes, and like
yeah.
this one's so heavy with it that like if you have no clue what's happening, this isn't helping. This is just gonna amplify the confusion.
And Gotchard up to this point had been a pretty good like starter writer series too. Like they hadn't done a lot of referencing outside of the continuum of Gotchard, really. And then all of a sudden they just drop like four or five different writers from past series without um any preamble whatsoever. It's just like, oh, here they are. No, I guess they drop like let's see, one, two, three, four if we count Legend, five, yeah, five guys that show up in these 2 episodes with like no explanation of who they are. It's great. So but anywho, back to this particular episode. So Clotho shows up pretty soon after this fight and kind of picks a fight with Hodoro and starts fighting him. While the fight is happening, this is when the enemies show up. The one we saw that stole the driver. We know that it is the 100 army, the army of the 100. Um, they show up. They're gonna fight Gotchard. They want to wipe him out. Is kind of what they're talking about. And as they're all about to fight, we get to see a shadowy figure kind of wave his hand, and then everyone teleports away and disappears. And they teleport into basically a labyrinth where they're constantly going through like portal doors.
Yeah, it's basically
And
like I mean they called it like an alternate realm, but
yeah,
basically it was just like the same shooting locations just to have anyone else on the screen, and like they'd walk through a door and come out in the same room kind of vibe, like that kind of labyrinth of
yeah,
hey, it's a maze and you're not going through the right doors.
yeah. They were like changing the colors and stuff. But yeah, it very much is the video game type maze of went in a door, came out the same room, and like, oh, what's going on? And go back in the same door, come out a slightly different room. Like it's that type of thing. Yeah. Um, and again, we don't need to hit it beat by beat, but basically throughout this being stuck in a labyrinth thing, Hodoro is telling Clotho like, "Why are you fighting? Like, what's your gotcha? Like, what are you trying to do?" And she thinks about her sisters, doesn't really have like a great answer for him. And eventually, when the enemy shows up again, they decide to work together just to get out of there. So, kind of the enemy of my enemy is my friend type of deal. And
And
we get
when
some. Go ahead.
oh yeah, but not even like so much specifically like it is the vibe of enemy of my enemy is my friend thing, but Hodoro's still too pure where it's more specifically like I know you're my enemy, but I want to be your friend still.
Yeah.
And even gives like I feel like it's like a setup for I'm sure episodes down the road or towards the ending. but even like basically says to her like maybe we can be friends someday down the road. And
Yeah.
like she keeps getting irritated because he's so like naively pure and like doesn't care. And even though she hates him, like I feel like she's just so disarmed by the fact that he's just next to her and she's like, yeah, I try to kill you all the time. And he's just like, no, but we'll be friends someday though. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like he's just so like gung ho, sweet boy Hodoro. Just he's unstoppable that way.
He is like he's genuinely baffled as to why she would still be fighting him. Because he's like, Garion's gone. Like, what are we doing here? I don't even understand why you're fighting. And he can't fathom why she might still hate him or why she might still be trying to fight. Because he keeps being like, just join us. What are we doing? Come on. And I think that's very cute, very, very Hodoro. She
And
definitely
especially with like the with the but what's your gotcha? And like her not
yeah.
knowing, but like that's just his go to. Like it's she's one of the for the past 31 episodes or so, she's been trying to kill him, hurl the chemis, all the bad things. And like all he really wants to know is like, no, but what drives you? Like what
Yeah.
is actually your happy thing? Like just let me know. We'll take care of it. I'll help you with it. Just tell me what it is.
I love the idea that you meet someone new and like one of the first things you ask them is like, "What is your heart desire?" Or like, what's the thing that really gets you up in the morning? What are we doing?" She definitely entered into this little alliance, like very clearly knowing that she was going to betray him, like the second that she got a chance, and he entered into it thinking that he made a new friend. I think that really is the the difference between the two of them. But, I think that they do some cool fighting here too. Like she kind of goes through the process of like, okay, well, Dread Type 3 is too much for me, but Type 2 is enough to handle these fools. And yeah, I thought that her and Hodoro together made for some cool fight scenes.
Well, especially
Facing
to yeah, like especially to got Hodoro and Kudo do them a lot, but like they started leaning more into the I'm gonna call them tag team moves or tag team finishers.
yeah.
But even like Hodoro and whichever sister it was, Clotho, right?
Yeah, Clotho's the one that's fighting
Yeah.
with him. Yeah.
So like they have like flip kicks together and like all sorts of crazy shit together, and I really dig the like they all actually work together and do things together. It just like seems more flashy and exciting at that point.
Yeah. Especially here, it's fun that it's like it's not just two people fighting in the same room together. Like they actually are actively working together, which is neat. Yeah. So that is kind of a thread that runs throughout the episode. And then another thing that we find out, so cutting back to the other people in the episode, we launch into an investigation on whether the Abyssal Sisters are human or not. Turns out they're not. So we are talking to Lachesis in the classroom, in the academy classroom. She talks about how she's not really humans. They're dolls. They were created. And Kyoka says that she will basically study her. Can I study you and figure out what you are?
And she gets real close up in her face and like gets real creepy about it, and she's like, "No, I just really want to watch you and study you though." And like the eyes and the face and the creepy whispers, uh, is really adds to the absurdity of the conversation.
Yeah.
But I did want to point out to you that's specifically in my notes when they're talking about the sisters and how they're made. Uh, I guess they were told that they're puppets made of the same stuff as Malgams. And I want you to know that the great video game Kingdom Hearts also had puppets that were treated as humans and eventually got their own consciousness and their own decisions and drives and will to live as well. They were
Well,
called
we're
replicas in that
okay.
replica Riku specifically, but it's the same thing again.
Well, here apparently they are homunculi,
Yeah, like
which is
I wrote down that word a bunch of times, and I even tried to like phonetically type it out because I was like, I don't think I can say it even if I tried, so I'm not gonna try. But I wanted to, yeah, I'm not gonna bother. It's one of those hard words. That's I guess English, but not
it
really.
is a hard word. Yeah. So funny enough though, I knew the word from Magic the Gathering. So there's a race in Magic the Gathering that are homunculi, and specifically there is a character, my favorite Magic character. His name is Thibblethip, which is spelled. Are you ready for this? FBLTHP, so no vowels in that name, is he's a homunculus, which in magic they're these like little tiny one-eyed like giant eyeball creatures. And Fibblethip, his whole thing is that he gets lost everywhere. So like he shows up in the art of other cards sometimes, um, as like a little lost guy, as like a little like almost Easter egg. And then whenever he has a card himself, it has to do with like being lost or not knowing where he is, or like showing up on a plane where he's not supposed to and stuff. So yeah, I was excited. Like I really popped for when they said that the sisters were homunculi. Like I know that word. But apparently maybe it's an actual like thing now that I'm now that I'm thinking about it. Let me Google what an actual homunculus might look like. Oh wait, a homunculus is a very small human or humanoid creature. Uh, Historically, it's a supposed microscopic but fully formed human being, from which a fetus was formerly believed to develop. So,
Weird.
Gotchard's apparently using it pretty loosely here.
They're little people. It's fine.
Little people. Yep. Let's see. So we get through all of the doors. Clotho and Hodoro do their working together, and uh, then she betrays him. And then let's see. Cutting ahead to kind of towards the end here, because it's mostly fighting here. We get finally a reveal of who did the hand wavy teleporting stuff at the beginning. And it turns out that it is, drumroll please, the Abyssalisk King. So the person that we saw come through the Door of Darkness previously is now here. He shows up with the Tropos, and yeah, he's ready to kick some Hodoro ass. It's kind of what we're doing.
He has extremely sick armor. I really
He
like
did.
the vibe and the look of that costume. But since it was part of this, we mentioned like the Clotho's suit actress being amazing at martial arts and everything. When she does, I'm gonna call her henshin thing, but when she quote unquote henshins into her weird new form, she looks like how the ghouls looked from Tokyo Ghoul, the anime, and I got really excited about that because she
Oh
looks
yeah.
like, or even like Venom, like when Venom, like the human kind of fights their way
Yep.
out of the Venom symbiote, and like you see like the human but the crazy teeth and the flashy red and everything. I think that the costume itself is really really cool. And since we now know that she's amazing at doing everything, it's cool that she actually gets to have like her half face sticking out as well.
Yeah. It's a cool background for like why the suit works that way, which is pretty neat. I kept thinking of I loved the suit, and I kept thinking that it looked like a Mortal Kombat character. Like she definitely looks like a Melina or something
Yeah, like
from MK.
that group
Yeah,
of the female ninjas. I think they were.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I was trying to remember all their names. I only remember Melina, unfortunately. But
And
it's yeah.
Jade and Katana and
There you go. There you go. Yeah,
there
it's
might
but
be more at this point too, but those were the OG three.
because they like have their bottom half of their face covered, but then like the rest of them is all like the ninja gear and stuff, and that's what the vibe instantly reminded me of. But she gets this power because he grants her that power. She what she'd been looking for this whole time. She talks about how she's feeling so much power, and then they all kind of teleport away. So it's just a little taste of what's to come.
Little teasy.
Little teasy teasy. So Hodoro then of course is like he's struggling, he's hurting, and then as the episode ends, we see three new figures appearing, kind of teleporting in as well. So we dispatched the big boss that was fighting them in the teleporting rooms. He had a really cool outfit too. I liked him and his whole vibe. But he's taken care of. But now three new people have shown up, and we find out more about them in the next episode. But they are members of the 100, and they're here to basically kill Gotchard and take over the world. I think is the whole plan here.
Yeah, they want the ultimate. I think they call it the ultimate weapon or something along those
Yeah,
lines.
they're looking for it, and taking Gotchard out along the way is, I guess, part of the plan.
I mean, he does interfere with everything, so
He
that
does,
does
he
seem
does.
fair.
We find out in this episode 33, which we're jumping into now, those 300, the trio 100, their names. So they are Tasagare, Mime, and Saigetsu are the three. So Saigetsu is the clearly like the leader, like the main guy. Um, Mime, the woman, she does some pretty cool sword fighting, and they said in the producer blog that she did that herself. Like the actress uh, didn't have like a stand-in for that, so that's pretty cool.
Do you think
Um,
like for all these situations, they're picking actors slash actresses that know
I think so.
like
Yeah.
they're specifically picking the person for like those skills to just be able to like randomly do these things?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about like Hodoro in general. I think it was either 32 or 33. Does a lot of outside of the suit fighting, and like he's not doing like crazy high kicks and like super martial arts, but he's still like actively participating in fights and like hip tossing
Yeah.
people and throwing people. And I was trying to figure out if like they liked that kid as an actor and was like, we'll teach you as you go, or if they were like part of the casting for all these shows is, by the way, you need to be flexible or have some sort of athletic ability kind of thing.
I'm sure they definitely are looking for like, are you naturally flexible and can move, and like, because like you can teach someone, how to do a karate chop, I'm sure, but like you can't teach someone how to like touch their toes if they can't already, right? Like, or you maybe can a little bit to some extent, but like I'm sure there's some like natural, like you gotta have a little bit of gifted ability here to do this stuff. I remember that one of the like behind the scenes things for Geats, the actor who plays Ace, his like thing he did for his interview was he did that like Samoan dance, whatever that's called, like haku. Is that what it's called?
Sure.
You know what I'm
I
talking
know
about?
I do know what you mean, so
Yeah. So like he did something like really physical and like um showy, I guess, as part of his interview. So that probably like right away was told them like, oh, this guy can definitely do whatever we throw at him.
if we would need him to do a backflip later, he definitely can.
Exactly. So this episode, Toby, as we talked about, there's a lot of fighting in this episode, but there are some fun things that do happen that we'll touch on here. And the first up is that Hodoro is working in the kitchen Ichinose, just kind of doing some sweeping up. And then so someone walks in, he starts to give them the spiel about, the restaurant, and then he looks up and realizes that, oh, it's Kajiki. I don't have to do this. But turns out it's not Kajiki, it's the butler.
It's fancy pants Kajiki.
Fancy pants Kajiki. So I like that Hodoro did what anyone would expect to do here. He dragged that butler's ass to the academy and said, "You guys figure this out. What is this?" So then they definitely go into the studying of Butler, find out that they are 97% a match with Kijiki and him. But he is from, yes, an alternate realm, basically an alternate world, and he kind of explains that he's warning them of the threat of the 100 coming to, yes, find the ultimate weapon and take over the world and kill Gotchard. They hear something going on outside. They go outside. Of course, they see the trio, the 100 trio, are showing up, and then that's where they introduce themselves here. And yes, they do say that they came for the super weapon. They're going to take it by force, and they bring in some of their little henchmen. And basically, they explain that like in short time, the entire 100 army is going to be here. But for right now, it's a small subset. But they're kind of just biding their time really until their full force can amass.
The fanciest putties we've ever seen.
Indeed.
All dudes in like full color, like full heavy knight armor.
Yeah, those guys. It's actually very funny. So those suits, they're the Kashini, are the kind of putty armor suits guys. Those guys, they use them in this episode apparently, according to the producer blog. They use them kind of at a last minute, like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll use these guys because they have the suits laying around. Because they first designed those guys and used them for some of the Kamen Rider Zeo shows. So Kamen Rider Zeo Over Quartzer, I think, is where they made their first appearance. Um, as yeah, basically like henchmen for the bad guy in that movie. So then they just had all these suits. So then they're like, yeah, I guess we can use them as a henchman again. Sure, why not?
as they love to do.
Yeah. So I just love that it's just like reusing the bad guys because hey, they're here. Might as well.
Well, especially in like the two episode arc of we're gonna have 1,000 different throwbacks to 1,000 different series and shows and
Yep.
old riders and everything else. It does just make sense. Like there's no reason not to at that point.
Yeah, it works out perfectly. I mean, especially because that series Geo was a series that was very, referential of past Common Riders. It was the anniversary series, so it makes sense to pull from that. And then, because we have different realities and characters that are appearing in both, like sure, maybe that same armor exists in two different realms or whatever. So yeah, you can explain it away with storyline if you want to, but it's also yeah, just very funny. And this is where things really start to pop off like crazy here, because turns out the three members of the 100 here, they all have drivers. They whip them out. They all henching, and they're all henching into past Common Riders. So we have uh, Common Rider from Geats. We see Glazer show up. That is the woman. We have what Common Rider Eternal, I think, and then we have someone from Kiva as well. So like just through three random past riders with their own like belt gimmicks and stuff, all the same things that were from those series. Now these guys are all Kamen Riders, and fighting ensues.
I guess we'll call it because I don't know any better. I know it's not Glazer, so I guess it's Kiva. Whichever
Kiva's the
one you
bat. Yeah.
okay, that one or him specifically. The bat being almost a real bat as the driver and letting it bite you before you henshin is like the craziest, coolest henshin of all of them. And especially they play like the Castlevania or like organ music, like the spooky chords when they're doing vampire baddie Castlevania things. Like
Yep.
without a doubt, I think it's the coolest concept for how the buckles work or the drivers work of all the ones I've ever seen.
We might have to check out Kiva because yeah, I think that's the vibe. I haven't watched it, but I've seen it now a couple of the anniversary shows. So I've seen it enough in other shows that I've watched to know like the general vibe and gist. But it is very very that like the whole show seems like it's like straight out of Castlevania kind of like that's the tone. Uh, and yeah, very very cool. I'm looking up the suits now for Kiva, and I believe that suit was the dark Kiva suit, the one we saw there. Um,
It makes sense. It's kind of spooky. It's
yeah,
it's a
he's
real
he's
thing.
the spooky bad guy, but main Kiva looks kind of like that too, just with a little bit less of the armoring kind of.
Okay.
But yeah, so yeah, these guys pop off real quick, and in the midst of the fight, Hodoro finds out that basically it's not their power, that they stole the power from other writers because of their travels throughout the different worlds and stuff.
And again, like full well admitting I'm an idiot when it comes to a lot of this stuff, and my memory sucks a lot of time. Since the girl was the one that turned into Glazer or Glare, whatever,
Uh huh.
I was trying to remember if she was actually on Gotchard at all or not. Like I was like, oh, was it the producer lady that like kind of got
Oh, gotcha. It's not, no.
right? So like I kept going back and forth with it, and I was like, they're doing too many things. Like there's
Yeah.
just too many random things flashing around. And I mean, eventually they explained like, oh, we stole the powers from other common writers, and it's like, oh, I guess it makes sense, but like I'm still expected to know who this is, kind of, and just a lot. Like again, like these past two episodes, this one specifically with when all the fighting starts. I forget what movie it was, but whatever movie we watched that was like the great battle royale triple quadruple team movie
Uh-huh.
that had like 6 or 7 main common riders and they did all their fighting in like 10-minute intervals with like all the suits popping out.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It had the same vibe of like we're just gonna flash all the colors and all the lights and hopefully you keep up and know who all these people are, or else this is kind of meaningless.
Yeah, it was like very fan servicey in that. Yeah, it's like you're gonna really be excited if you know all this history. Otherwise, you're gonna be very confused. And I totally get your thinking it was the like producer woman from Geats because yeah, that makes sense. Not because like also like I knew that Legend, Kamen Rider Legend had the like other writers gimmick, So I wasn't completely shocked when they transformed into like existing riders, but I also wasn't expecting it. Like when they showed up and they whipped out drivers and it was the Vision driver that I saw first. I'm like, what is happening? What? Excuse me? So yeah, it was pretty crazy. In the midst of this fight, Kudo gets mind controlled because that is, what the Vision driver can do. Can send out the little bots and can take over people's minds. So she starts fighting on her side, and then eventually Clotho joins the battle in her new badass Mortal Kombat suit. And basically she's just fighting everybody. She's kicking the good guys. She kicks Kudo down and Kudo dehensions and breaks the mind control. Clotho's also kicking the 100 riders who come in. So she's just like everybody's just getting laid waste too. Which I thought was very cool. And then she uh I guess the other thing we missed here, so the very important part that we missed as things are kicking off, is that we finally get to see Lachesis, the Abyssal Sister who has the Valvarad sword. She actually finally got to henshin, so she henshins into a version of Valvarad basically. So now we get the current modern day Spanner Valvarad that is a common rider, and now we get the old school, like, looks more like it was made in a junkyard version of Valvarad that is Lachesis.
It's
And
funny
they got
because like it all obviously like they're both tied to their own person, but like it's as close to if there's going to be like male and female of the same armor
yeah,
as humanly possible. Like Lachesis has like kind of like a skirt tassels around her legs, and like it's basically the same. Like it was almost the exact same costume, just like if it was a RPG, it's the female armor tweaks compared to like the male armor tweaks.
yeah. And like just barely. Like I'm like 99% certain that they thought, well, we've got that suit laying around, so we might as well use it. And that's why we have this. Because it is pretty much just that suit again, just slightly uh I don't even know. Like it's just maybe fitted a little bit better for a woman. Is really what it boils down to. It's not even like feminized. It's just yeah, it's just like slightly taken in places and stuff, and yeah, it's just fully that suit. But it was cool. Really liked that they had a little bit of a moment between the two of them where they're kind of doing the same thing, like doing the same moves and like working together. Because again, Spanner hates her, so it was cool that he like was following along with her.
And like this was again just because of watching both episodes back to back. Like them doing tag team moves together looks extra cool because again, it's like both the male and female armor doing the same things at the same time, and like it just they're leaning into the tag team thing.
Yeah,
I enjoy it every time.
totally. And then finally, one more freaking writer shows up here. And this is the one that threw even me. So common writer Zane appears out of nowhere. He's a cool looking writer, and he basically stops the woman, the 100 member woman, and eradicates her. Basically, like he just completely demolishes her with not too much work, and then she kind of fades away from there. So Zane, I had to look this up, comes from a TTFC exclusive show called Kamen Rider Outsiders that I didn't even know existed. um, and let me see how many episodes there are of it even. Yeah, apparently there's 6 episodes of Kamen Rider Outsiders. I don't know anything about Zane. I don't know if he's going to um continue to stay in this show or if this was just like a cameo thing, but yeah,
In the
they
show
they
full of
just
cameos, there was one more.
exactly in the midst of all of this nonsense, they were like, yeah, let's bring in yet another one too. Uh, but yeah, he appears here, and then kind of the tide starts turning here in the fights. So Hodoro, he gets his big he does the Hulk Hogan thing where he starts feeling the power of the Hulkamaniacs, Toby. That's really what goes on here because there's a crowd nearby that starts cheering for Hodoro, which I thought was very awesome. They're yelling like "Ganbare Kamen Rider!"
Yeah, like his his speech this time again kind of fits. They always throw the theme song in there because that's how they do it. Um, I feel like whenever he gives like his most dramatic speeches are always the ones when he's like it's truly whenever he's near death. Like he's really
Yeah.
like about to get murdered, everything's doomed. And he just like he's so good he just like loses his mind and just starts yelling, like you said, getting hawked up. This one speech again was about like humans and chemis are best friends. They all
Yeah.
matter. They make his gotcha matter. And that's when the crowds stamping and clapping and cheering, and the theme song starts again. And this little child screams that he's a common rider and he can do it. And
I thought that the crowd cheering was genuinely one of my favorite moments from Gotchard so far because it was just like it's such a cool feel good moment after his big speech. Like Hotaro's so good at those like Hulk up moments where he gets to yell about friendship, and then to literally give him a crowd cheering him on after one of those was just too perfect. Yeah, his speech leading up to this, so he saves a little girl, and the bad guy is like, really, you would save like one insignificant life in the face of the world being destroyed? So Hodoro gets to be like, there's no such thing as a small life, and then that launches him into his big, everybody's friends and riders and chemis and humans and everybody matters and all that stuff. Just yeah, perfect Hodoro speech again. So he fights back, and eventually, yeah, they make all of the 100 disappear. I guess is really what boils down here, because finally we get the debut of Kamen Rider Legend here in our main series. So Kamen Rider Legend shows up, and in all of his gold glory, we get to see what he's all about. And he even gets a new form that we didn't see in the main series, and they name that the Kamen Rider Legendary Legend form.
it's a wonderful name.
Yeah. So tell me your thoughts on Kamen Rider Legend.
It's the greatest toy sale of all time.
Yeah.
but
Um,
but barring that, so again, there's he does 10 throwbacks to old common writers,
yeah, I
and
lost track at this point.
the way
He
they
starts
blended them
mentioning. Yeah.
yeah, the way they blended them together actually looked very cool, and like it was shot fantastic for what that was. But there's just so many things going on at the same time that again, like this whole 2 episode gap was like that movie we watched where it was, hey, by the way, this is Common Rider Ghost, and these are the 7 forms he had across 50 episodes, but we're going to show you those in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And like he did everyone's finisher, or like fundamentally what I would assume is their finisher, or at least their catchphrase with the move.
Yeah.
And mainly, it was cool that he flashed like at his like if he was holding a deck of playing cards and was like, I'm about to play a full house and beat all your guys' asses. He flashes like cards of all the old riders, which of course they sell. I thought that was kind of neat. But of course, the first one he has to turn into is Dumb Freaking Kuga. And I
Yep.
was like, I hate this so much. And I laughed. Like, I don't really
Right
hate
off
it.
the
Just
bat.
laughed. Yep. But it's cool. He went through a bunch of them. Like, at least at this point, I recognize names, if not necessarily like recognizing the costumes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when he got the suit upgrade outfit thing, I guess we'll call it, where it's like the 30 cards just strapped to his chest as armor.
Uh
We went a little bit too far.
huh. Have you seen the Kamen Rider Decade form that is like that but worse?
No, but
Um,
I can look it up while you tell your part of the story.
it's called the Complete form. So look up Kamen Rider Decade Complete form. Um, I think that is like the ultimate one.
Oh,
Uh,
it's the exact same thing.
yeah,
Okay.
it's just
All
like
right.
plaster cards all over the character. Yeah, I felt the same way. Like I think that the his upgrade, it's better than Kamen Rider Decade's complete form, but it still looks pretty dumb because it's just we put all the cards around his neck, and now he just has like a dumb mane of cards for some reason.
Yeah, it
But
looks like the Yu-Gi-Oh card holder things they use when they duel.
totally,
It looks like two of
yes,
those glued together around his neck twice.
100% it does. Yeah. Uh, aside from that, though, I do like Kamen Rider Legend. I like his whole gimmick because one, I like no coming in. I like that with him it's always going to be old writers. So it's like that's the gimmick, and it's just going to be like one after another because that's how it was in his spin-off series too. And I like everyone that he becomes, he still has the gold sash around their chest. So like even though he's henching and bouncing between a bunch of different characters and doing a bunch of different things, there's like that little continuous thing, which I think is a neat way to represent this. Where the other times that we've seen this sort of a gimmick that doesn't happen. So that's kind of cool. They definitely like the former writer Chemi cards would have been like in the set, um, in production long time ago, right? Because they made the physical card stuff. So like, I guess yeah, I guess like the probably has been in play for a long time that they were going to introduce some way for those to get used as toys because all the other chemis can get used as toys and you put in the belt and stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
so like when we opened, at least when we opened the pack or the box of the packs, which was phase one, which would have been
yeah.
shit like 6, 7, 8 months ago, I feel like.
Yep. Back at the beginning of the
Even
show.
yeah, even then, some of the cards that we opened were like I had like two Kugas and some other ones. And almost the entire time they were hyping the cards as the gimmick. They started flashing all the crazy like, hey, look, the old riders are on cards. They're the legendary cards or like the rarest of the rares or whatever.
Yeah.
So they definitely had this or some semblance of this planned. Obviously, always since the beginning.
And whenever they do these like gimmick things, like if the gimmick is at all popular, they end up making former writers in the new writer gimmick. Like, that's like a thing that they've done in the past. Um, but yeah, with these, like especially with the cards, like there has to be some amount of forethought put into this with the production of the card packs and stuff like that too. So yeah, I think the planning was long in advance. My big question mark now with him being in the series is he gonna be around for a while? Like, is he here for the rest of the show, or is he around for a couple episodes and he's gone?
Well,
um,
like this episode had the weird like bonus intro where it was like Kamen Rider Gotchard X, Kamen Rider, blah blah blah, and then like it went back away. So I feel like I would assume it's just gonna be like a one off until next week when they finish the bosses and he goes
yeah,
back to his home planet and we never talk about it again. Because like realistically, like the Platinum Gotchard outfit now is basically the same thing as the fancy all the cards for him,
yeah,
just not legendary riders, but Kenny's.
that's true. Yeah, I guess that's true. And I mean, like when you're looking at the rest of the series and kind of painting it out, like obviously the big bad now we're building towards is the Abyssal King. Like he got introduced here. He's like the big scary guy that like, we thought Garion was bad, but really Garion was like worshiping this guy essentially, right? So now this guy shows up. So I think he's gonna be kind of the thing we're fighting towards the end. And yeah, I don't think that the 100 fit into that really, probably. That's just very cluttered. So then I don't know if Legend then like solves the 100 issue and then is like, all right, I'm gonna fuck off back to my own time now. See you guys. Uh, but I kind of, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I kind of hope he does, I guess, because it's a lot of characters to keep up with otherwise. Not that I dislike him, but it's a lot.
It was a lot. Like especially watching both in a row, it was a lot. That's all I can really
Yeah,
say.
like you said, like
My little non-common rider brain was like, holy shit, there's entirely too much stuff happening.
yes, yeah. It like I said up top, like you mentioned, like it just seems like they don't really know what they're doing at this point. Like what is this show? They're just throwing so much at the wall. And yeah, it felt like I mentioned, like that it is just really like ripping at the seams is what these two episodes felt like. Just like everything is going at like breakneck speed. We're throwing so much at the wall we possibly can. And like it's barely holding together. Like it made it very fun and exciting. But yeah, at the end of these two episodes, I really liked them, but I felt exhausted afterwards. It's just like, wow, that was a lot like visually to take in after these two episodes.
Yes, like
Uh
so effectively, the show that was about this little nerdy kid trying to find his happiness through animals that live on cards, and his great battle against the people that use them for evil is now a show whose main story is armored villains from a future timeline came to destroy him to stop him from making a special weapon. And he was saved by a guy that has powers kind of like him, but also can call back to 50 other generations of Kamen Riders, most of which I feel like Hodoro wouldn't know because they never really addressed like
He
the
won't. Yeah.
lineage of Kamen Riders as a Kamen Rider thing. And like those two plots are like so completely wildly different
Yeah.
that it's just like it's fine. It's fun, it's flashy, but like it's just not the same show. Like I said
Wild.
it for the
Yeah.
past couple weeks now. They're just so I don't know if it's lost or they're using all this to wrap it back into something that's more cohesive. But ever since the Gold Man himself died, the show is really like all over the fucking place every week.
Yeah. I mean, like, really, if there's one thing that has been um, definitive about Gotchard thus far throughout its entire run, is that it is a show that is like very excited to completely reinvent itself like multiple times over and over again. Like it it was definitely the slice of life type thing you're describing at the beginning. People seem to hate that. They went out of their way to be like, no, 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 we're totally different now. And like it did change pretty drastically. And now, yeah, here again, maybe it's like everything's popping off wild like crazy. Um, and maybe that's just for a few episodes here, and then we'll kind of go back to more like sort of what we'd been doing and focusing on the drama with the sisters and with the Abyssal King. But yeah, it is definitely a show that's just like every maybe 5 or 6 episodes, it feels like there's just something that's like, whoa, okay, yep, that's what we're doing now. All right, cool, let's go. Because yeah, it is a far flung distant past now in the like first couple episodes of this where it's just like, oh, we're just so happy and we're catching these cards and we're best friends with them and it's all good. Well, Toby, those are episodes 32 and 33. I think it's going to wrap us up for our double header here talking about these two. We'll see if things get back to a calmer state next week, but I don't suspect that will actually be happening.
And how can you at this point? Like
Yeah. I don't think you do.
to
And
wrap it back around to my original point, like they've gone so hard and so heavy on the gas
yeah.
that like next week, if they just sat in Hodoro's mom's kitchen and was like, "Hey, we're going to school today, and by the way, remember you have to fill out your future card," and they just fight the Kemi of the week for no real reason,
Oh
like
my god, that'd be amazing. That'd be so good. If
yeah,
we
but
just
like
like yeah, they can't. You're right. It's like that Pandora's box has been opened. We expect nonsense now. And nonsense we will be given.
and especially that like so episode 33, 34, we just said we were on 32, 33, whatever it is.
33 we just finished. Yep.
So there's probably about 17 to go. Like, what the fuck are you doing for the next 4 months here?
That's that's what I'm trying to figure out here cuz like I said, obviously I think that the Abyssal King factors in heavily to the ending. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out then like, so are we having this big crazy like world spanning arc where the hundreds stick around for a long time, or yeah, what other stuff are you throwing at this wall? I am excited to find out.
Yeah, like, I mean, I guess they can finish up the story with them, but then that's going to seem like a slow burn of 4 months of those people. Like, they just,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't have the answer.
I
So
don't either.
I'm not going to pretend like I do. I just think this is all very, very wild.
Me too. Me too. All right. Well, that does it for us. Toby, where can the people find you on the internet?
On Twitter, it's Life of Tobes. And on YouTube, it's Tobes Plays.
Right on. For me, you could find me on Twitter at PrettyDeeceJosh and YouTube on at PrettyDeece and but Blue Sky Meek.lol. You can also check out our Patreon. We'd love if you would do that. Patreon.com/the comment writers. $3 a month for a bunch of bonus content over there. and send us an email, cast@kamenundersucks.com. All right, so yes, we will check back in next week. We'll see what wildness ensues at that point, and we hope you join us back for that. But until then, have a great week, everybody. Peace.